What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So, kind of an interesting day in the markets. We had a lot going on. We've got the impeachment underway. The markets haven't really responded too much either way. They're just sort of bobbing up and down. I think the Dow was down like a couple of points. NASDAQ and SPY were actually up just a tad. But again, the markets are hovering around their all-time highs. You also have like the Australian markets, right? Their indexes are kind of flat as well. So all throughout the world, I think markets are just sort of waiting to see what happens. We've got the inauguration coming up. That should be interesting. We've got the military dispersed and deployed to America's streets. That should be interesting. A lot of propaganda, a lot of censorship, a lot of very, very bad things happening. I mean, we know it was a terrible thing that happened, in November on Election Day, or I should say the days and weeks after Election Day. Terrible thing would happen, but, we're going to focus on the economic impacts of everything. And, I do want to keep my eye on the macro, even though I'm kind of in my own bubble every single day. You may be in your own bubble trading whatever stocks it is you're trading or paying attention to your portfolio. But we do have to sort of pay attention to the macro environment, but also pay attention to the political circumstances and how it may affect our portfolios, right? So the other thing I wanted to mention too about gold and silver, they're still struggling right now. Silver, let's see, where's silver right now? Let me go to the commodities. Silver is at $25.30, and gold was actually down right now. Gold is down. It's hovering around 1847. So I think a lot of people, including myself, right? I wasn't expecting silver or gold to go higher, but I was kind of getting the FOMO. You know what I'm saying? I made some silver purchases. I mentioned this. Made some silver purchases when it was in like that $26, $27 range. Wish I had waited, right? Wish I had waited until, today. But I'm probably going to be, if silver does hover in this area for a few more days, or if it goes even lower, I'm kind of waiting to see if it might go lower. I'm going to try to pick up more silver, might pick up some silver, some bullion. I want to get a bar. I actually don't own any bars yet, so I do want a silver bar. Going to pick up some jewelry as well. That being said, from trading economics, we have the U.S. inflation rate supposedly above forecasts. It says annual inflation rate in the U.S. edged up 1.4% in December from 1.2% in November, and slightly higher than market forecasts of 1.3%. On a monthly basis, consumer prices increased 0.4% in line with expectations. Now, speaking of consumer prices, I saw this tweet. I should have brought it up, for the podcast, but I did see a tweet from Peter Schiff, and he tweeted, I think the pictures were from Florida. It was some viewer of his that sent these pictures, and there were pictures of a supermarket, and it was pictures of the tomatoes, the tomato stand, the tomato section of a supermarket. And last year the price was like $1.99. This year the price is $2.99, right? And Peter Schiff was saying that this is a 50% increase in the price of tomatoes at this particular store and in this particular area of Florida. And he was basically saying, this is what inflation is. Get used to it. You're going to see a lot more of it. I know I've noticed rising food costs in my area. Let me know if you've noticed the same. I think everything's going to go up. I think gas is going to go up. I even think, with the commodification of water, they're trading water futures now. There's all sorts of issues, especially out west in California, getting water to certain cities. I think we're going to see, water bills rise. They're going to start charging a lot more going into 2021 and beyond for water. But just in general, we're going to see rising prices, right? This is what inflation is, and this is how it affects the consumers. This is how it affects the people. We are basically paying a tax through inflation, right? All of this money printing, the stimulus projects, all of the bailouts, the handouts, all of this has to be paid somehow. All right. And they can tax us through inflation. I believe that is what we're going to see. Doesn't mean the dollar is going to collapse, right? I'm not going to sit here and be eternally bearish on the dollar and say that, oh, the dollar's demise is, next week or next month. I think we could see a very, very strong dollar. Doesn't mean that we won't still see inflation. Doesn't mean, even if there is a very large demand for dollars, just globally speaking, despite the supply, even if there is a demand and even if the dollar remains, or I should say gains strength going into this decade, that doesn't mean that we won't experience rising prices. That doesn't mean that our purchasing power will not decrease. How could it not, right? All of this stuff they're doing, that this government is doing, it's going to it has to be paid somehow. We're going to pay it through through inflation. That's how they're going to charge us for, the free checks and all of that. So yeah, I am still putting money into gold and silver projects, mines, miners, royalties, stuff like that. That's sort of what I'm focusing on. I want to build that section of my portfolio up a little bit more. There's the Sprott's Silver Fund, Eric Sprott, I think is his name. I choose to put money into shares with PSLV instead of SLV. SLV is sort of run by, I think JP Morgan is the custodian that holds the silver. Very manipulated. I do like the Eric Sprott fund a lot better. I'm pretty sure that's his name, but it's PSLV. You guys can check it out. It basically mimics the price of silver. So let's go ahead and get into some of the trades here. I did put an overnight trade on for PayPal. Now, I don't usually do this, right? I like to, as far as my trading account is concerned, I like to close out cash every single night. But I noticed this wedge pattern forming, and I think PayPal has a chance at going higher. It may not, right? I could wake up tomorrow and, lose the entire premium of the contract. But I wanted to take a chance because I really do believe PayPal has the potential to really pop off tomorrow and into Friday. If I do end up deep in profit, deep in the money tomorrow, I'll probably sell it. But for about $120, I did get one call, and we had massive green volume come in at the end of the day. So that's a pretty good sign that tomorrow should work in my favor. I'll give you guys an update about that. But yeah, I like to look for these wedge patterns. The wedges are basically like, how do I explain it? It's basically, there's this pent up energy, right? The stock is sort of consolidating, right? That's what PayPal is doing right now. It's consolidating. You can really see it on a lower time frame. This is the 15-minute chart. It's consolidating, sort of bobbing up and down, and the range gets narrower and narrower before it just, boom, either has to explode up or crash. So we'll see how that goes tomorrow. I did trade GDX as well. Okay. I should have held my put. So I'll show you the move that I caught on GDX. I was trading on the 1 minute time frame for this. And so this was the move right here. We made a high, right at the open. I was trading NEO contracts again. I'll show you that trade. But we had made this high. We kind of bounced around for a little bit. Then we made a lower high on the day. And so I decided to get in on this red candle right here. And I pretty much rode this all the way down to the bottom. I might have gotten out at this red candle. It might have been this little green candle here. So that was a pretty good trade. Those are the kind of moves. That's the kind of volatility. I mean, it's really minor. It's the difference between like 36.11 and 35.44. Right? So dollar-wise, it's not that much, but when you have an option premium that has like a delta of 60, that's about a $15 move right there. And that was my second trade of the day. We're kind of going backwards here. I put the PayPal trade on last. This was my second trade. We'll get into the first trade. But, those are the kind of moves that I'm looking for. Now, had I caught the upside and gotten a call, could have rode it all the way back up a couple more dollars. But then, as you can see throughout the rest of the day, gold ended up crashing, right? So it's so hard to predict this stuff. When you look at this time frame, right? Like this is the whole day. This right here, this highlighted section, this right here is the whole trading day. It's so hard to predict that, and I've never had good luck. I've really just never done well buying and just holding for, hours or a day. It's never really worked out for me. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just not very good at predicting these larger time frames. I like to get in on this 1 minute chart and scout these option contracts, right? Get in on one of these candles. If it goes my way, get out in a few minutes. And if it doesn't go my way within a few minutes and starts, breaking, like the daily high or whatever, if I'm in a put contract and it breaks the daily high, I'm out. So it's pretty easy to keep my losses minimal. Let's go ahead and talk about NEO because this was a very interesting trade. So NEO looked like it was about to, because we had a wedge pattern on NEO. Let me go actually zoom out of this time frame, go into the 30-minute here. Yeah, so we had a wedge pattern forming from a few days ago, right? This is the last 3 or 4 days. So the wedge pattern was forming, and I really thought we were going to break out. And we did break out pre-market. You can see, right? We've got a lot of green volume, and it did. It broke out of that wedge, and I thought we were going to go to the moon, right? So I jumped in on calls immediately and wrote it all the way up here, and I saw that we started rejecting, right? Because I'm in a 1 minute time frame trading these. I got in probably on this pullback right here. I think it was like this green candle right here. So I saw all this volume, right? We did have a supply area, but we had so much volume and we had broken out of a wedge pattern. So I just went for it. I got a call contract and I rode it all the way to about here, and then I got out. Because, I saw the red volume coming in. I was watching the time and sales, reading the tape, and it was not looking good. But I did manage to score about, I think it was like $20 or so. Altogether, I'll show you, my P&L was about 8%. So altogether, it was $35 from the GDX and the NEO contract. It's about 8% in my small account. And that's what I'm focusing on, the percentage gains, the consistency, sitting on my hands, not over trading, and, just trying to build up my confidence again before I, put more money into this account and then try to start, catching these same kind of moves, but putting a little bit more on, if that makes sense. And NEO kind of bobbed up and down for a little while. Let me see if I can zoom out of this. Come on. NEO ultimately failed, so I'm glad I got out where I did. We did not, I had pretty high expectations for NEO today, but it just wasn't happening. The reason is because NEO is a Chinese EV company, and I do think emerging markets, I think China, Russia, a lot of different places other than the U.S., I think there's a lot of opportunity. And as the U.S. equities kind of bob up and down or start to decline, I'm wondering if we're going to see, Australia, China, Russia, some of these other markets, I'm wondering if we'll see them go up, right? You can almost use the indexes here in the U.S. as like an indicator of kind of like a contrarian indicator for emerging markets. I do think it's possible that, U.S. equities could experience some volatility to the downside in 2021, while we see other markets and even, these emerging markets, experience growth. So we'll have to see how it plays out, but that is why I guess I'm so bullish on NEO. Not to mention that NEO is an electric vehicle company. So I think eventually this stock is going to be a $100 stock, a $200 stock. I'm even thinking about getting in it long term, even if I can scoop up 10 shares or whatever. But we'll have to see where it goes. Like I said, really thought we were going to break out of this wedge and go for the moon, but it just didn't happen. So we'll see what happens with the PayPal contract here. it was a very strong day. You can see, I mean, huge green candle, huge green volume. Like, we had more green volume. This is what's good about this trade right here, is because, we had the green volume, but then we had more than enough follow through, right? If you look at the volume, the second volume bar is bigger than the first one on this day. So that means that we had a lot of follow through. There were bears that were trying to push PayPal down, but ultimately it seems to be staying up. It's kind of consolidating. It's like 7:21. So after hours trading will be over shortly. I think it's possible that we will see PayPal, go up tomorrow, but don't hold me to that. I know there's some drama with PayPal. They're cutting off, campaign, the people who donated to the Trump campaign. And what's really weird is, as PayPal and big tech are sort of moving to ensure that, Trump and a lot of Republicans can never get any financial support ever again, as they're ensuring that, Sheldon Adelson, who is Trump's biggest donor, passed away just like yesterday. I think that's very odd, okay? Very odd, considering, all this talk about how Trump needs to be banished from public service. But let me know what you guys think. What's on your watch list? What are you looking at? Where are you putting your money? And with that, follow me on social media. The links are in the description below. I am on Gab, by the way. It's a fantastic alternative to Twitter. And now that Parler is down, we don't really know what's going on with that. Go and follow me over on Gab. We have to be using alt tech. If you're not using alt tech, you're crazy. And as always, until next time, God bless.